All right. Welcome, Will Hart, to the podcast. Y'all, this is, I hope you're watching this on YouTube because he just made some funny face at us. But y'all, Will, I have so been looking forward to this. I am just such a super fan of the Green Room podcast.
Yes.
And just, oh my gosh, like all the things that you were doing, the conversations that you're having, they're just awesome. They're real, they're authentic, but you have a life that many of us we've never seen anything like the life that you've lived. So first off, welcome.
Hey, thank you. I was turning my phone on silent.
Yeah.
I forgot to do that. Thank you for having me on. I really, really, really appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And thank you for the kind words about the Green Room.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, tune in, guys. So, Will, we love to start with stories, and I've heard your story and I want them to hear your story because the radical encounter you had at 17 years old that literally set your life on a course that I think few of us would have ever ventured. I mean, that took you to Mozambique, to Paraguay, just a really unique life. Can you tell us a little bit about that story just to give everybody context for this lifestyle?
I would love to. Yeah. So I'll try to give you the most condensed version I
Okay.
can. Grew up in a Christian family. My mom got saved when I was really young. So historically not a Christian family. My mom and dad were both first believers.
Wow.
In their family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, first gen. So grew up around the church. And my mom, when she got saved in Assemblies of God kind of like revival meeting.
Okay.
Got baptized in the Spirit at that meeting on day 2. And so where I grew up in Massachusetts, there wasn't a lot of I would say your normal kind of spirit-filled Pentecostal.
Not the Bible
churches.
Belt's what you're saying.
No, definitely not. So if for my mom to go and get her kind of encounter with the Lord, where she got the church she got saved at, we would have to drive places. And so my whole childhood was full of getting in the car and driving an hour or 2 hours to some meeting.
Oh my goodness.
Fast forward about 12 years old. I just hate God. I hate the church.
Wow.
I'm done. And I found this little thing called drugs and just went full into that.
Little thing.
I became a kleptomaniac at right around 12 years old. And that's like a self-diagnosis thing. I couldn't leave a store without something in my pocket.
Oh my gosh.
That's
at
crazy.
12. Man, you were
And you
young.
weren't reselling it to get drugs.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
yeah.
you were okay, sorry. I stole some thread when I was 10, but I wasn't.
No,
a
I
young
would set,
criminal mind.
I would set a goal I'm going to steal $1,000 worth of stuff today.
Oh,
Did you ever get caught?
Wow.
Yeah, twice. I got caught twice in all my years, and one of them, I'm supposed to be banned from Costco for life.
Oh my gosh.
I got caught at 16 stealing 500 sleeping pills and 2 cartons of cigarettes from Costco.
Oh my goodness! Now that's a serious offense.
Wow. So you were dealing.
Jeez, how did you not go to prison?
Okay.
Yeah.
In the game, so I was your low-level punk kid trying to feed his own habit, right?
Yes. Yes.
I didn't mess around with any of the crazy stuff. I mean, I would take some of the drugs, but I wouldn't get into I sat in enough cars with convicted, scary people buying drugs to freak me out enough. I was smart, but for me, it was mostly dealing in my school or selling. I was the kid you'd buy a pack of cigarettes off of because I'd steal cartons from Costco. So I sold cigarettes, I sold weed, I did all that stuff.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And I know, Will, you've also said that you had severe ADHD. You were just kind of off the charts, from a medical standpoint, what is wrong with this kid? But you've not embraced it as an identity, but you're I've made peace with it. I'm thankful for it.
Oh, embrace, made peace. I don't care. I love it. I honestly, I love it. And the older I get, the more I love it.
Wow.
And I've actually noticed this as I've met other leaders.
Yeah.
Most of them are diagnosed with something similar to ADD. At least the ones that I
Yes,
Yeah, I agree.
CEOs
they're
have.
high
Dyslexia.
functioning CEOs.
Yeah.
They're so. I think. Listen, I mean, I'm not a professional. I sat with a lot of professionals as a young kid, but I think, yeah, I wasn't made to sit in a classroom.
Yeah.
And I still am not. I learned by doing, and I learned by getting out there
Yeah. Yeah.
as I go, which is fun because it's pretty adventurous. It's also dangerous, because you make a lot of mistakes, but I need that
Yeah.
in my life. I need to go on adventure and learn as I go. And because of that, I can actually do a lot of things at once. So yeah, I mean, ADD was like a new thing when I was in my teens. I think I got diagnosed at like 12 years old.
Yeah.
In Boston Medical Center. My mom, for my 40th birthday, my mom gave me all my medical records, which she kept.
Oh,
and I
wow.
read through them all. It was like 4 inches of medical records. And yeah, I mean, she was very, what's the word? Intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making sure that I had every option available to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
So you're
I actually don't see it as an issue.
you're drug addict and you're a dealer, and then let's go forward. So because you're sitting across from us, clearly that's no longer your life.
Right.
How did that change?
So 17, my senior year of high school, went into this teeny little church, and it was Assemblies of God church, and they had a speaker coming in that night. I shouldn't have been there, but the Lord knew. Mm-hmm. And in the speaker, he said, "Jesus loves you." And with those words, like, the power of God came on me, and I felt love from God for the first time, immediately followed by power. And he said this, he said, "Jesus loves you. Not only does he love you, but he wants to use you." And I'd never heard that before.
Yeah.
And God's touching me. I'm weeping. I'm shaking violently.
Wow.
In my chair. And then he says, not only does he want to use you, but he's going to do it tonight. And I ran forward because I had to have this. In a moment, God became real.
Wow.
And if God was real, he has everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was really that simple. I don't want to oversimplify, but it really was. It was like, if God's real, how can I continue to live my life like everyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. And so, yeah, fast forward 6 months, I'm on a plane to Paraguay.
Wow.
The day my class was walking down the aisle, I was on a plane to Paraguay.
Wow.
And, yeah.
And did you have any problems, like, were you addicted at that point, or were you just more playing around with drugs, so it was easy to walk away from
No, I came off
that?
of everything that night.
That
the night I got
night.
saved, except for cigarettes.
Okay.
That was the hardest thing to quit. And it took me, I want to say, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks to actually kick the habit. And the way I did it was I would put my Bible, I would put a pack of cigarettes in front of my Bible, or I put it behind my Bible. So in order to get the cigarettes, I had to
read the
Oh
Bible.
my gosh.
Oh, Will,
Yeah.
that is amazing. Amazing.
And listen, there was more than one time I was like, out of my way, word.
Right.
yeah.
Get behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
So what did you do? Tell me about Paraguay, and then when did you meet Moosey from there?
Yeah. So moved to Paraguay, and so Bob was the man who was doing the meeting that I got saved at.
Yeah.
And I just started following him around. So 6 months I'm following around, doing meetings, going to meetings, helping him, serving him.
Wow.
And he said, "Hey, I'm going to Paraguay. Do you want to come?" So I go on a quick trip, a 2-week trip. While I'm there, I felt the Lord speak to me that he wanted me to move there. So we're getting ready to fly back. This is on the first trip, fly back home. And right before we're leaving the hotel, I said, "Bob, I feel like I'm supposed to move here." And Bob stands up in the hotel, and some of the pastors of the churches that he was ministering at came to say goodbye. And he's like, "Hey, do any of you guys have a room on your house?" And somebody raised his hand, and Bob goes, "I got your room. You're now my missionary."
Oh.
And so I flew back a few months later with my duffel bag and I moved in. The room was the closet off of their 8-year-old and 5-year-old's bedroom.
Oh.
And it was about the size of where I am. It was about the size of a twin mattress.
Right.
Oh my
And
goodness.
and I moved into this closet for 6 months, 8 months, while I was in Paraguay.
And who were you affiliated with somebody down there, or at this point
No.
you're a lone ranger?
I was just with Bob.
Bob's missionary.
Just with Bob.
Yeah, he's
But
like,
Bob was going back and forth, and I
Yeah.
was just there. I was just living. And you guys need to understand, I failed Spanish 1
yeah.
3 times in high school.
Oh,
So it took me 6 months to learn the language. I cried myself to sleep every night.
I bet.
And but then God started moving, and I was so incredibly hungry.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was so hungry just to be used by God, and word spread. Somehow I started getting phone calls to go in and pray for people in the hospital, and I prayed for a couple people and they died, and then I got a phone call from this one guy who was weeping. I didn't speak Spanish at the time. I passed the phone over to Johnny. He was the pastor that I was living with at the time, and he said, "Hey, there's a guy. They're about to pull the plug on their son. He's been in a coma for it's either 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
And he wants you to come and pray." And so we went to the hospital, and long story short, ended up praying for this guy. We snuck in. We weren't supposed to be there,
Right.
but we ended up praying for this kid. And as we're praying for him, the doctors come in and it's like, "Get out of here!" And we're calling the police.
Wow.
And so we ran. And as we're driving away, we got the phone call about 20 minutes later that the kid had sat up, came out of the coma, sat up, 2 liters of fluid drained from around his head. And they'd gone into his brain and pulled out a brain tumor.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they moved him from intensive care to like regular care that night. And that was like one of the moments that started
Yes.
Oh, sure.
started a lot of stuff at least in my life personally. Within a month or a few weeks, I was invited into the White House of Paraguay, praying for the First Lady and all of her dignitary friends.
Wow.
Whose friend had cancer. So First Lady's friend had cancer. They had a kind of a Catholic prayer group, and so I got to go in there. Met Moosey along the way.
This is you're 18, 19.
Yeah, I was like 17, 18 at the time.
Oh my
Golly.
gosh. Like,
So the Lord
what?
just immediately for you just opened supernatural doors of favor.
Yes, he did. I also ran. I think that I totally agree with what you're saying. I also think that there's so many people that are looking for doors to open up
Yeah.
before they run. I actually, you're hearing a couple of highlights, but the reality was it didn't feel like favor.
Yeah.
It felt hard. It felt like chaos.
Yeah.
It's good to
missed my
know.
family. I missed my friends. I didn't speak the language.
You lived in a
I'm
closet.
giving you a few of the highlights,
Yeah.
but there was a lot of really that at the time I wouldn't have looked at it as favor. But I've learned from that season. I've learned that I don't look at what I see. I just try to be obedient to what the Lord's calling me to.
Nice.
He says, "If you love me, you'll obey what I command."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I will ask the Father, and he will give you another counselor to be with you forever, the Spirit of truth,
Yeah.
who the world cannot understand. The world tries to figure this thing out. And even the church, they try to figure it out. Like, this thing of favor, this, it's your moment of opportunity. And like, at the end of the day, I try to oversimplify my life and my faith and my walk with the Lord. It's like, do what he says,
Yeah.
love people, love others, serve, never stop serving.
Yeah.
Go to the poor, the sick, the needy, and the broken. And if I do those things, I'm going to have a hard time missing him. Stay in the Word, stay in prayer, love my wife, love my kids.
Yeah.
Go to church, serve the church. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a hard time missing him.
You are.
Yeah.
Well, I don't hear you mention your dad. Your mom was taking you to these places. Was he a part of that encounter? How does that work? And did Bob become like a father to you as well? I'm just curious how that all related.
First of all, Murray's the dad. Dad I love my father. I have an amazing relationship with my father. If I could be half the man that he is, I'll be a happy man.
Amazing.
So yeah, my father, my mom got saved first. It took a few years for my dad to come around.
Oh, sure.
But eventually he did. And yeah, both my mom and my dad jumped right in because they thought I was, I was off. They knew I was off the rails. The summer before I got saved, my dad was driving me up to a summer school, being like, you're failing everything. You're failing at life. So when Jesus transformed me, like everything changed. My parents changed. They got on board. They got behind almost anything that I was doing.
Wow. That's so cool.
Because I was really just slowly killing myself before. So they got on board. Both of them love Jesus, and both of them have since traveled, left Massachusetts, where I'm originally from, and they've moved with me to California, and now they're here in Tennessee.
Oh, that's so
wow.
neat.
Yeah. So huge supporters of what God's doing in your life.
My God, I can't imagine not having them.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. What a blessing.
Bob became a spiritual father.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And man, to the point, people throw that word around a lot, like father, mothers, Bob didn't have any kids. Him and his wife, Susie, who have now gone to be with the Lord, they wrote my wife and I into their will. Like when I say I was their son, their spiritual son, I really was.
Every way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bob was dad in so many ways. And my spiritual father, with zero competition with my actual father. He just had something different. So I learned early on, ladies, to serve, right?
Yeah.
To serve the people that God puts in my path. And so when I met Bob, I was all in.
Yeah.
I was just all in. Yeah.
I think you were also too, I mean, I hate to say it, but you were just young and not dumb, but I mean, you're like, I don't care if I live in a closet. I'll just versus like if I'd had my Tempur-Pedic for 20 years and then I'm moving, you know what I'm saying, to Paris? It's like you didn't know what you didn't know. And so you move and you're like, sure, I'll stay in a closet. God said to do it. It's fine. I mean, where I think it's like when people are older and they hear the voice of God, it's like, it's hard to leave all these. You know what I mean? You were just young and like, this is an adventure, and think what you do at 17 versus what you do at 40. I mean, it's totally different.
Can I challenge that a minute?
I love it. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Like in the most respectful way. I'm watching just right now. And I'm saying like right at this week, this month, I'm watching I just watched someone turn down $10 to $30 million a year salary working for the largest, I won't name the company, but one of the largest companies in the world of pharmaceuticals, the head position, because they wanted to make sure that they were being obedient to the Lord.
Wow.
This was like last week I watched this happen. I just saw on Friday, I sat with someone who just wanted to be baptized in the Spirit, and they shut down their $2.5 million a year salary just to be obedient to the Lord. They didn't even know what was next.
Yeah.
Wow. Praise God.
This is just in the last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think at the core, when people fall in love with Jesus, they're willing to risk anything.
Yeah.
And I guess any of the pushback I'm saying is I'm watching people take that biggest risk.
Yeah.
Like for them, it's their salary. For them, it's their inheritance, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm willing to live off my savings to go on an adventure. Like that is a massive risk.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Bigger than what I took.
Yeah.
And so I see it constantly. And I see people, I was just in Nepal about a week and a half ago. We had, in our mission school, we had a 60-year-old, that's just hungry for the Lord, willing to leave everything to do it. So,
but break that down, Will. It is harder. But I think you have to be in, this is just my deduction here, but I think you have to be in a community that's fostering that.
Well, in that, I mean when you're with Global Awakening and with Iris Ministries, so because here's the thing, Will, it's like your community are people that are so radical in following God so hard, which is so amazing, which is why we were so excited to talk to you.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's all you've known is this. You've been surrounded since a young man with this radical lifestyle and an expectation. I feel like most of us have grown up in, Western Christianity, America, where, to see, if you see a miracle once in your life, you're counting yourself lucky. Whereas this is just like part of life. Supernatural is not an option. It's just part of life. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, listen, of course, there is a culture. It'd be foolish for me not to admit that. However, those first two testimonies that I shared with you, all that's taken place has taken place in the last month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So not part of the culture, not part of literally like Bible Belt.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a gentleman on Friday. He said, I've grown up in the church and I know God and I know the scriptures, but I just want to be baptized in the Holy Spirit. And he just sat there and wept. This is raw, brand spanking new.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if my wife is going to understand this. I just,
wow.
like, I'm seeing this right now.
Yeah.
And so I maybe pushback was not the right term.
Oh, no.
I do want to say, whether Global Awakening, Iris or not, all those things aside, God is always moving and he's always answering the cries of those who are hungry.
Amen.
And in both those cases, I will say this, in both those cases, in the core of these, their hearts, like, and I've sat with them. They're like, we just set aside everything to go after God. We didn't know what that looked like. We didn't know what that meant. We just knew that we needed more of God. And zero Pentecostalism.
Yeah.
Like zero. Zero charismatic understanding. And so that's what I love. I think if all who are hungry, all who are thirsty, Jesus said, John 7:37 on the last and greatest day of the feast, is all who are thirsty, let them come to me and drink. And as the scripture says, streams of living water will flow from within you. That hunger and that thirst, it doesn't matter. Background, it doesn't matter what you've been used to or what you haven't.
Yeah, he does. Will, I would love to for you to share like a couple of stories from Mozambique. I'm always like, oh, the people who get to go to Africa, how amazing. I mean, because you got to see probably even maybe somewhat more than you even saw in Paraguay. So just a couple of stories of like, why Iris? I mean, Heidi is just so absolutely fascinating to me. I mean, the woman who dives all over the world and has 100 and how many 80 kids now. I mean, how many kids does she have? Like, it's insane.
A lot. Here, look.
A lot.
This is just something here. I got them all over the place. Look at it. There you go. There's a couple right there.
It's unbelievable.
It's just so.
The whole ministry is unbelievable.
And for those of you who don't know, Heidi and Roland Baker, she felt called to the country of Mozambique, right? And so, Will, you got to serve with them. Just couple of stories being near Heidi. I mean, God, it literally blows my mind. I mean, I read Conquer by Love and I was like, how is this real?
I know.
I mean, it just is so amazing to me what God has done.
Yeah.
One of the smartest things I've ever done is serve powerful women used by God. My wife being the first, Heidi being the second. There's something there in the life of Heidi and Roland that is so needed in the church, in people. Like, there is a softness, and the beautiful thing about Heidi, at least what shook me when I first met her, was the simplicity and rawness of love. But not just in words, but in action.
Yeah.
And, we have these like phrases in Iris: love looks like something, or stop for the one, or there's always enough. These phrases were coined or birthed out of these moments in the miraculous with God. And it really was as Heidi and Roland went and served. So 1994, 95, I forget the exact year. Heidi had an encounter in Toronto.
Right.
Spent, what is it, 6, 7, 8 days on the floor, just encountering the Lord. Goes back to Mozambique, lines up her 12 head leaders, and gives them the exact same word that Randy gave her. And it took a little bit of time, but they started to see the deaf hear and the blind see as they would go out and preach. Then the floods came in 2000.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give people a brief overview.
Yeah, please.
And then boom, explosion. It just took off in the midst of chaos.
Wow.
The gospel went out, and now over 5,000 churches. Every statistic that I can see, Mozambique has shifted from that of a Muslim nation to a Christian nation. And I know for a fact that's taken place up in northern Mozambique, Cabo Delgado. And all of it has come from Heidi and this team of just radical lovers of Jesus going out. And what it looks like is we'll show the Jesus film and then pray for the sick.
Yeah.
Right. I have never seen, and I've been out with Heidi 100 times in the bush of Mozambique. I've never seen her not pray for a Makua or Makondi that is deaf and seen their ears open up.
Wow. Never not had
partial.
them. Yeah. So they all hear.
Every time.
Wow. Every
with the
time.
Makua or the Makondi, when we are on outreach, I've watched her pray for the deaf and their ears pop open.
Oh my
Man.
gosh.
And so everybody knows everybody. And so as the deaf hear or the blind see, the village goes, I need this Jesus.
Yes.
And then we plant a church there. God. So, and I hate even to make it formulaic because it's not.
No,
but
right.
I would say that's a common thread in the ministry.
Was that common, Will, when you and your wife went to the northern tribes of Mozambique? Was that same experience your experience as well?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, sometimes you have rocks thrown at you and you got to run. But I would say 90% of the time, you're going into the bush and you're seeing incredible miracles take place.
Man.
And people coming in droves to Jesus.
Wow.
It's incredible. And then we would bring someone in from our Bible school or to the Bible school from the village, and then they get sent back out and they start planting churches.
Wow.
It's incredible. Currently, you asked for a couple of stories. I mean, I could tell you miracles for days.
Yeah.
I can tell you baptisms for days. I can tell you church planting for days. But honestly, what's impacting my life the most right now, and I don't want to get too heavy, is our pastors and our leaders who are in immense persecution right now.
Yeah.
And listening to their stories of faith, listening to their lives of falling in love with Jesus even more in the midst of the worst of the worst that I've ever heard. And I don't know what your demographic is. I don't want to say too many things that will hurt people or will, but when I say the worst, and watching pure joy, pure love, and pure just excitement in the midst of chaos is something that even after serving the poor in Mozambique for years, it's something that challenges my faith every day.
Yeah.
I can tell you one quick story.
Yes, of course.
One that I just heard. Liz, our farmer, our missionary farmer in Pemba. So a little bit of backdrop. There's been a war going on with rebels, and they're radical Islamists, and they go in and they just murder, they brutalize, and I'll let you fill in every blank.
Yeah.
Okay? And they'll kidnap women to bring back to their camp, and they'll get passed around. And because it's war and Mozambique and other people are trying to hunt these radicals down, they move. So they move from camp to camp. And a woman shows up at our farm, and she was one of the women that was captured from her village, taken in as a slave at the rebel camp. And I think she said she was held captive for like 6 or 7 months. And they're moving from village to village, and they're staying away from the military that's trying to kill them. And while they were moving from village to village, her and another woman that was also held captive, they saw this opening in the middle of like nowhere to like sprint into the woods, right? Because they kind of like go and and something happened, you know, and they took that moment and made a run for it, and they're just running and running and running.
Man.
Just not knowing where they were. They had no idea where they were anyway, because they just got moved so much. And so they're running into the woods. And I think if I remember correctly, I think they're out there 2, 3, 4 days, and they're thirsty, they're starving.
Man.
And so currently Rwanda had sent soldiers into Mozambique, northern Mozambique, to help with the warfare. And so that, just hang on to that little tidbit.
Yeah.
Good guys. Good guys.
So these women come upon 2 Rwandan soldiers in the jungle, okay, and one of them is now, fast forward, she's at Pemba, telling Liz, our missionary, our farmer Liz, this story. She goes, me and this woman ran into 2 Rwandan soldiers that were like 7, 8 feet tall, and they were dressed in white.
Oh my goodness.
And Liz is like, hold on, Rwandans, they don't dress in white, they dress in black. Their
fatigues.
Their fatigues are just black, 100% black.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's Makua, Makondi, different languages, and so Liz is she's like, hey, so what's the color of what they were wearing? And she goes, white. And Liz is like, yeah, but was it like, what does white mean? And finally the woman stops and she goes, their clothes were the color of milk.
Wow.
And Liz is like, okay. And she said that they took them to safety.
Yeah, they did.
That they grabbed them, they gave them food and water, and took them to safety, and then just left.
Oh my goodness.
And Liz is, and she's like, and then they told us to come here.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Wow, I got chills.
And so Liz was able to give this one woman, I don't know what happened with the other one, the word of God, and feed her, and you know, it's stories like that.
Yeah.
Where of course they were the angelic, or you know, of course, first of all, Rwandan soldiers aren't 7 feet tall,
right?
Yeah.
And they're certainly not
7
wearing white in the jungle. Right. It's a little messy.
It's those stories in the midst of, I can tell you 100 more that are horrific.
Yeah.
But in the midst of that, it's watching the goodness of God.
Yeah.
In the midst of chaos. I've learned so much from
I bet.
from Mozambicans.